Good morning on this Sunday, the 6th of November. This is your 28storms.com cyclone update. First, if we start off in the southern hemisphere, this is the latest Australian water vapor animation, and yet again we see another trough sweeping through much of the continent, ushering in more dry air and wind shear aloft, and so no development is expected within the next 6 to 7 days. The following is the latest 12Z ECMWF model forecast, and it is showing no sign of any tropical development throughout the forecast period. Next up is the 12Z run from the GFS model, and this is the sea level pressure and precipitation forecast. And one noteworthy thing that the GFS is indicating is an increase of low pressure here across much of the southern Pacific islands in advance of a cold front, but the model is not showing anything overly organized in terms of tropical activity. Instead, it's more like an associated surface trough instead of anything being well defined. Now, as we move on into the Indian Ocean, the U.S. Joint Typhoon Warning Center is now monitoring newly classified 96A Invest, and the chances of development have been upgraded to medium. If we observe the latest precipitable water animation of the Arabian Sea, we can see that over the last couple of days this low pressure area has steadily become more organized with time. Furthermore, within the last 12 hours, the latest enhanced infrared has indicated an upward trend in the latest convection, which is an indication that we could be dealing with a little bit of strengthening at this hour, and the water vapor continues to support the idea that favorable upper level ridging is currently present over the Arabian Sea. The latest 850 millibar relative vorticity analysis from the SIMS website is also showing an increase in vorticity in the low levels, so it is really no surprise that the JTWC has upgraded the chances of development. The latest wind shear analysis would also seem to indicate that the pattern is favorable for at least some slow intensification into a minimal tropical cyclone within the next 24 hours. We see very little in the way of any vertical wind shear just off the coast of India, and you can see it even better on this chart. This is the location of the upper level ridge. Now, the key to this low actually becoming much of a significant threat to any land masses will be greatly dependent on whether or not this upper level ridge moves northwest in tandem with the low center. If the low currently located in this general area begins to outrun that favorable upper level ridge, then it may get torn apart by more southwest vertical wind shear. It is also worth noting that although the entire Arabian Sea is conducive for tropical development based on the current water temperatures, the water profile is actually slightly cooler here just off the coast of Yemen, and that is more than likely due to the fact that Tropical Cyclone 3A was nearly stationary in this vicinity for an extended period of time, thus causing some upwelling, and therefore some of the cooler waters below the surface were brought up closer to the surface. Despite the recent organization trends, the ECMWF and GFS models have backed off on the idea that this system will develop into a tropical cyclone. And to sum things up, I think this system may have a fairly good chance of becoming classified within the next 36 hours, but even if it does become a tropical system, it will more than likely dissipate within the next 2 to 3 days. And I will show you the reason why. This is the latest 12Z GFS upper level wind forecast. We can see the center of the upper level ridging located off the west coast of India, but look what happens as we advance this into the next 48 to 72 hours. We have this massive trough beginning to dip down across the Middle East, and that's going to prevent this upper level ridge from advancing westward along with the area of low pressure. As we advance into days 4 and 5, the pattern becomes steadily worse. We see that the upper level ridge is now anchored over central India, and that trough is simply continuing to dive southward into the northern half of the Arabian Peninsula. So any development is likely to be short-lived. So we will be continuing to closely monitor the Arabian Sea in the event that that system becomes a little stronger than forecast, but overall it still looks like it's a fairly quiet period in terms of cyclone activity. So thanks again for viewing. We will have another video update by sometime tomorrow. In the meantime, don't forget to check out 28storms.com/cyclone for the rest of any cyclone information you may need.